Thank you. Okay, good evening, everyone. Happy Monday. I call this meeting. I'm sorry. Hello. Okay. I, Cassandra Phillips, President of the Duncanville ISD Board of Trustees, call this meeting to order. This meeting is called under the Texas Government Code 551.045 based on the declarations of emergency regarding COVID-19 epidemic by the Governor of the State of Texas and the President of the United States. This meeting is being held via Zoom, via teleconference under Governor Abbott's order dated March 16, 2020, suspending certain provisions of the Open Meetings Act due to COVID-19 epidemic. Because this meeting is being done via Zoom conference, I will now do a roll call. Please say present as I call your name. Jacqueline Colton.
Present.
Carla Fahey. Carla Fahey.
Hello, present. Are you?
Thank you. Phil McNeely.
Oh, okay.
Present.
Renee McNeely.
Present.
Cassandra Phillips, present. Janice Savage Martin. Janice Savage Martin, I see you. I think it's frozen.
Janice is frozen in time.
She's frozen, but I see her. So is that enough? Okay, so I see Janice Savage Martin there. Janet Vera Cruz.
Here.
Let the record show that a quorum of Board of Trustees is present, that the meeting has been duly called, and that this notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551, and Governor Abbott's March 16, 2020 order. We will now go into closed session. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we are now back from closed session. We will now take action on closed session items. Do I have a motion to approve the appointment of interim elementary principal? Yes.
So moved for Maryfield Elementary principal.
Second.
Okay, I heard Phil McNeely first. So I have Janice Savage Martin moved and Phil McNeely seconded. If the board has a question, comment, or discussion, please state your name and whether it is a question, comment, or discussion.
My name is Janice Savage Martin, and my comment is that she's not interim, that she is officially the principal.
Okay.
Okay, do I need to restate that?
Yeah.
No? Okay.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, thank you, Trustee Martin, Savage Martin. Any other questions, comments, or discussion? Okay, so we are ready for the vote on the appointment of elementary principal. As I call your name, please say yes if you vote in favor of the recommendation, or no if you vote opposed, if you vote to oppose the recommendation. Jacqueline Colton.
Yes.
Carla Fahey.
Yes.
Phil McNeely.
Yes, ma'am.
Renee McNeely.
Yes.
Cassandra Phillips, yes. Janice Savage Martin.
Yes.
And Janet Vera Cruz. Janet Vera Cruz. She's frozen.
Looks like she's froze.
Yeah, looks like she's frozen.
What do we do?
Yes.
Janet, was that you?
I don't
Yeah.
think that was.
Okay.
Is that Janice?
Janet, will you raise your hand or?
Well, she's frozen.
She's
So,
frozen. Okay, she said yes.
Can you hear me now? Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
okay. Yes, we heard you. Thank you. Okay,
Yes.
motion passed 7-0.
Yes.
Thank you all. Okay, do I have a motion to approve the appointment of principal at Summit Education Center?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Jackie Colton has moved and trustee Renee McNeely has seconded. If the board has a question,
Yes.
comment, or discussion, please state your name and whether it is a question, comment, or discussion. Any questions, comments, or discussions? Okay, we are ready to vote on the appointment of principal at Summit Education Center. As I call your name, please say yes if you vote in favor of the recommendation or no if you vote to oppose the recommendation. Jacqueline Colton,
Yes.
Carla Fahey,
Yes.
Phil McNeely,
Yes.
Renee McNeely,
Yes.
Cassandra Phillips, yes. Janice Savage Martin,
Yes.
Janet Vera Cruz. I think we lost her again.
Yeah, I think
Yes.
she's
Janet,
having some.
Yes.
can't hear you. We can't hear you.
You're mute.
Okay.
Okay, so did you hear that?
No, ma'am.
Okay, we're voting on the principal at Summit Education Center. Yes or no? Janet?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, great. Motion passed 7-0. Do I have a motion to approve the appointment of the principal at Acton Elementary?
So
Yes.
moved.
Okay. Trustee Carla Fahey
Second.
has moved, and Janice, was that you?
Yes.
Janice Savage Martin, trustee Janice Savage
Yes.
Martin. Second. Okay, if the board has a question, comment, or discussion, please state your name and whether it is a question, comment, or discussion. Any questions, comments, or discussions? I think we lost Janet again. Okay, Jacqueline Colton,
Yes.
Carla Fahey,
Yes.
Phil McNeely,
Yes.
Renee McNeely,
Yes.
Cassandra Phillips is a yes. Janice Savage Martin,
Yes.
Janet Vera Cruz. Janet Vera Cruz, going once? No,
I think Janet has some technical difficulties there.
I see her there. Okay, what's the etiquette? What do we do?
So, you know, one thing we do have, we can maybe wait just a second to see if she can get back on. If not, we can go ahead and move forward.
Okay, so 6-0.
Yeah.
I mean 6.
Yes.
Well, it's not. Well, yeah, I guess.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Okay.
And
Okay.
we can cite the technical difficulties as it relates to Zoom, and then we can
Okay.
give her an opportunity once she logs back on to, you know, reaffirm her position.
Okay. Okay. So, okay, there she is, Janet Vera Cruz. Did you hear that motion for the principal at Acton?
Yeah.
Are you a yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Motion passed 7-0. Do I have a motion to approve the appointment of the principal at Daniel Intermediate?
So moved.
Second.
Trustee Janet Vera
Second.
Cruz moved, and was that Phil?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Trustee Phil McNeely, for the second. If the board has a question, comment, or discussion, please state your name and whether it is a question, comment, or discussion. Any questions, comments, or discussions? Okay, we are ready for the vote on the appointment of the principal of Daniel Intermediate. As I call your name, please say yes if you vote in favor of the recommendation and no if you vote to oppose the recommendation. Jacqueline Colton,
Yes.
Carla Fahey,
Yes.
Phil McNeely,
100% yes.
Renee McNeely,
Yes.
Cassandra Phillips would be a yes. Janice Savage Martin,
Definitely yes.
Janet Veracruz.
Yes.
Okay, motion passed 7-0. Congratulations. Do I have a motion to approve the superintendent's recommendation to approve the emergency operations plan as presented?
So moved.
Trustee Janice Savage Martin,
Second.
and trustee Renee McNeely, second. Okay, to approve the recommendation of the superintendent as presented. If the board has a question, comment, or discussion, please state your name and whether it is a question, comment, or discussion. Any questions, comments, or discussions? We are ready for the vote on the superintendent's recommendation to approve the emergency operations plan as presented. As I call your name, please say yes if you vote in favor of the recommendation or no if you vote to oppose the recommendation. Jacqueline Colton,
Yes.
Carla Fahey,
Yes.
Bill McNeely,
Yes.
Renee McNeely,
Yes.
Cassandra Phillips, yes. Janice Savage Martin,
Yes.
Janet Veracruz.
Yes.
Okay, motion passed 7-0. Dr. Smith, quick question.
Yes,
Are we recognizing the
we
principals
are.
now?
We are. I just sent a message for Kathleen Brown to come on board and make an introduction for you.
Okay, thank you.
So hopefully she should be logging on. There she is.
Okay, good
Kathleen?
evening.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
Hello,
we can hear you. We
Yes,
can hear
sir.
you.
At this time, I will introduce the new members of the Duncanville ISD team to you and then give them a moment to speak to you as well. I'll start with Dr. Tanya Jones. Dr. Jones is bringing over 26 years of experience through her role in Duncanville ISD. 16 of these years have been in educational administrative roles. She's been an instructional coach and mentor for numerous educational leaders and has served as a teacher, a coach, assistant principal, and executive director. She's a gifted and dynamic leader with lots of experience in curriculum and instruction and school improvement. And we're excited to have Dr. Tanya Jones to join our team. So Dr. Jones.
Thank you so much, Ms. Brown. Thank you, Board President, trustees, and Dr. Smith for giving me this opportunity to serve the students and families in Duncanville ISD. I have my daughter, Tamia, here to celebrate with me while my husband is away on business and my son is away at school at Army West Point. I thank you for this opportunity and I cannot wait to start serving.
Thank you.
Welcome
Ms.
to
Jones,
Duncanville.
Thank you so much. I'm excited.
we are excited to have you and thank you. We look forward to working with you and all the great things that are going to come.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Next, we have Mr. Raheem Williams. Mr. Williams started his career in 1999 in New York, where he is from. He joined the Duncanville ISD family in 2004. He has served as a teacher at Reed Middle School and as an assistant principal at Duncanville High School and Reed Middle School. Mr. Williams has the ability to help students find success both academically and socially, and we look forward to him and leading the Summit Education Center. Mr. Williams. You're muted.
Here we go. Thank you for the opportunity to lead the Summit Educational Center.
Well, congratulations on your promotion, Mr. Williams. We appreciate you for all that you're doing, and we're looking for all the great things that you're going to do. So, congratulations.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Next is Mrs. Jessica Linwood, a graduate of Skyline Career Development Center. Mrs. Linwood has served as an educator in Dallas ISD for over 20 years. Her career path has included the roles of teacher, assistant principal, and principal. Mrs. Linwood believes that her charge as a leader is to remove barriers and obstacles to student success, to stand for the at-risk, and to celebrate victories, both victories great and small. We would like to welcome Mrs. Linwood to the Duncanville ISD family as the principal at Acton Elementary School. Mrs. Linwood.
Thank you to the board, President Phillips, Superintendent Smith. I am excited for this opportunity to join the Duncanville community, and I cannot wait to join the family of champions at Acton Elementary School. Gracias a la Junta, Presidente Phillips, Superintendente Smith. Estoy emocionado por esta oportunidad de unirme a la comunidad de Duncanville y no puedo esperar para unirme a la familia de campeones en la Escuela Acton.
Oh my gosh.
Yes,
Amen.
ma'am.
That was so awesome. Well, welcome, Mrs. Linwood. We are so excited to have you, and that just blew me away. And I'm just so excited right now. That was awesome. Thank you so much, and we're here for you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Last but certainly not least, I would like to introduce you to Mr. Terrence Chase. Mr. Chase will be the new principal at Daniel Intermediate School. He has been a part of the Duncanville ISD family for over 22 years. He has served as a teacher at both Acton Elementary and Daniel Intermediate, a counselor at Reed Middle School and Duncanville High School, and most recently as an assistant principal at Brandenburg Intermediate. Mr. Chase's commitment to the City of Champions is evident, and his ability to build positive relationships is unmatched. And so we are so excited to welcome Mr. Terrence Chase as the principal at Daniel Intermediate School. Mr. Chase.
Thank you. I'm sitting here with my wife, my #1 supporter, and I just want to say thank you so much to the board, Dr. Smith, Ms. Brown, and everybody else for your support. And I look forward to serving all the children in Duncanville ISD, and especially at Daniel Intermediate as their leader.
Mr. Chase, we are so excited for your promotion, for you, for all that you've done for Duncanville over the many years that you've been here. We know you're going to do great things. So just keep doing the work that you're doing, and we appreciate you. And I know the board has things that you all chime in, because I know you feel the same way. So, I mean.
He's a superpower.
Yes, yes. So congratulations.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Okay. All right, I guess it's back on me. Okay, we will now move to opening ceremonies. And at this time, I would like to present our trustee, Janet Vera Cruz, who will lead us in our invocation.
Hello, everyone. If you want to bow your heads and join me. Father, we come together to honor you this evening and to give you the glory over our situations and decisions that must be made in tonight's board meeting. We lift up our 2020 graduates as these young men and women prepare for a short walk across the stage into a long journey of the unknown filled with possibilities and dreams, with you guiding their eyes and feet onto unfamiliar pathways. Lord, your word says in Psalm 119:18, open my eyes that I may see wondrous things from your law. So, Father, our prayer is that the glory of God wash over our graduates who have eyes to see and ears to hear in their time of need. Father, it is in your hands that we release our concerns, anxiety, and burdens for challenges that we face in the school district in the coming months. Our heart is to place you in the center of it all. In our stillness with you, we trust you always. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Trustee Vera Cruz. And at this time, I'd like to ask Trustee Renee McNeely to lead us in the pledges.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the
United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, Trustee McNeely. Okay, we will move into the superintendent's report. I will now turn it over to Dr. Smith.
Thank you, Madam President. And again, good evening, board members and others that are in attendance to our meeting. I have just a few reports that I would like to provide and update you on. Just keep in mind, board, there may be a slight delay in the technology and advancing the slides, so I'll try to time it so that I can minimize that. But the first item that I want to report to you on is our end of school technology. As you know, we distributed many technology devices to our students, and to our students' credit and to our staff's credit, I wanted to update you on how the device return rate ended up. Our focus was with our seniors, and they were to pick up, of course, and return their devices at the end of the school year. We had 175 devices that were deployed out to our 12th grade students during the deployment process, and we received all but 2 of those devices back. So again, I just want you to know 175 devices were deployed out, and they had those for a pretty good period of time. And so we have been able to receive all but 2 of those devices. And one of the 2 devices they were scheduled to bring in today. So it could be that that device was returned today. That really is a credit to a lot that went on behind the scenes with our technology team of one, communicating the plan to all of our parents and all of our students. There was a process that we developed, and we educated the parents and the students on that process. There was a document that was pretty comprehensive that they had to fill out and check the various boxes on that document. And then the actual day that we were receiving the devices, there was a lot of planning that took place in making that happen. And so, you know, I wanted to make sure that I give credit to our students and our parents who did a good job of receiving those devices. They were very responsible in returning those devices. So that was just awesome for them. And then the credit to our staff for all the pre-planning that took place, and then the post-planning so that we could receive that number of devices back from our students. And so wanted to report that to you. The next item I have is our summer meals, just to update you on that. Obviously, we have ended at the end of our school year. We've over 10-week period there, our nutrition services workers, they served over 30,000 meals to students.
Wow.
And just to kind of wrap your arms around what that meant, they were out there many days. It was very hot out there. That was right after spring break up to the end of May, that our food nutrition workers were out there serving meals, reached over 30,000 meals. And so we've now transitioned to the summer, and we've switched from the daily meals that were distributed to a once a week distribution that started in June and throughout the summer. And so on Tuesday each week, our nutrition service workers, they provide 5 pre-packaged grab and go type meals for each child. And for the first couple of weeks, our numbers are week 1, we had close to 4,000 meals that were provided. And then week 2, we had just a little over 3,000 meals. And so one important thing to note is this week, the families that qualified, they received what is called a pandemic electronic benefit transfer. And basically what it is, it's funds via their Lone Star food stamp cards. And so the eligible families receive $250 to purchase food for their students. And so that all has been initiated through our food nutrition department. So we want to say kudos to our food staff, service staff for doing an outstanding job. The next item that I have, board, is just to provide you a report on my attendance to the Candlelight Vigil that was held a week ago today. Was an awesome evening, an evening of reflection, an evening of just the city coming together. There were 2 board members in attendance there. I know Miss Jackie Colton was there, had an opportunity to visit with her briefly there at the Candlelight Vigil, and I believe Miss Renee McNeely was in attendance. If I missed someone else, please forgive me, but those were the two that I was aware of that were there. But it was an awesome event, an awesome opportunity to bring the community together, obviously to help bring attention to some of the disparities that are out there. We've been seeing a lot in the news coverage lately, and it was just a great time for to hear from pastors, to hear from our mayor, to hear from Senator West, to hear from our police chief on all the great things that are going on in our community to keep our community together and united. Also, board, I had an opportunity this Sunday to attend an event at the Dallas Police Station downtown. Really was a very similar message to promote unity. I joined several individuals from other churches across the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Other educators were there as well. And the focus was just on prayer, unity, and bringing awareness and having a listening, bringing a listening mindset to some of the issues that we have been seeing broadcast over the news waves all throughout the last month or so. So just a great opportunity to partner in those two events, and really looking forward to continuing those conversations with our staff as we begin the school year. Also, board, wanted to update you on our reopening plan in terms of just from a staffing standpoint. We're going to take an incremental approach this year to bring staff back because of the obvious challenges that we're experiencing with COVID-19. We're planning a soft reopening that will take place July 6th. And so we'll be working collaboratively to plan what this will look like for our district, and using a lot of different resources and data that we will get from our staff. I'm going to be sharing with you when I talk about our reopening plan, a survey that we have put out there to our staff, and we're looking to get feedback from that. I'll give you some details a little later here in the board meeting, but I wanted you to know that we are preparing for a soft reopening and staging it appropriately so that we can get staff back acclimated to work. July 22nd is the day that all of our staff is scheduled to return to work. The last item I have for your board to report on is our boys basketball state tournament virtual celebration. Our board member, Coach Phil McNeely, had an opportunity to participate in that with us. We held that on Thursday, June 11th, and our Duncanville High School Panthers, our boys basketball team, received special recognition from UIL. They were honored in a virtual celebration along with other 6A teams that advanced to the state tournament. And of course, due to COVID-19, we were unable to defend our state championship, but we know that we're going to be back there and hopefully have another opportunity to play for state and defend our state championship this upcoming season. So it was a great opportunity to have our head coach be able to have some words, and for our boys to be able to be recognized for the effort and hard work that they put in all season long to make it back to the state tournament. So we're really proud of them and the work that they're doing. Those are all the reports that I have for you, Madam President. I turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Smith. We will now move to recognitions. I will turn the meeting over to Mrs. Tiara Richard.
Good evening, Madam President, Board of Trustees, Dr. Smith. It was a joy to see you guys and to come together. I just have one quick recognition that I wanted to share. Zoe, and that one is regarding our Adopt a Senior program. So we've talked in the past, and I know Dr. Smith has talked in detail about the Adopt a Senior program that was conducted on Facebook. And it's had more than 500 seniors that have either nominated themselves or been nominated by family or friends. Well, what most people don't realize is this is a purely grassroots effort. This was undertaken by teachers who saw that seniors were going through a lot and needed to feel special and recognized in a way after losing so much of what they normally would receive during their senior year. So the organizers who took the time upon themselves while still teaching virtually to recognize all of the seniors, and the goal was to get everyone, but the fact that they had more than 500 seniors, even some new ones that were nominated just as late as last week. It's just a really big deal that that happened. So I wanted to mention their names, make sure you recognize them and know who they are. Ms. Shauna Kyle is one of the lead organizers. Dedrick Williams joined her and was a part of that. Mr. Mark Teal was also included and definitely brought in lots of recognition. Laurie Bacon Campbell and Mr. Stephen Kane. And not only did they spend the time reaching out to those seniors to try to get them lined up to receive recognition and to be adopted and celebrated, but they also reached out to community members, and those community members were lining up to recognize our seniors and to celebrate them. In fact, they had so many people lined up that they had many more people who were really willing and able to adopt and celebrate our seniors than we had seniors who actually signed up. One group in particular, First Baptist Duncanville, they donated 75 gifts, backpacks, school supplies, and those backpacks also included gift cards. That's 75 of those from First Baptist of Duncanville. And this has been such a success that Ms. Kyle said they're looking at a way to incorporate and carry this partnership with our community forward, even when COVID-19 is over and we're in traditional school setting. So you're making these connections in this environment and can find ways to continue and keep it moving forward, just to keep the community connected to what our seniors and what our students are doing every day. And so I think that it's important that we commend them. We give these teachers credit for all of their hard work and just celebrate what they did, the way they volunteered to celebrate our seniors the way they have. And they're not done yet, obviously, because they still have a few more days graduation itself. And so the celebration will continue them publicly for their efforts to pull together a massive undertaking like this. So thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Richard. We will now move to communications from citizens to discuss pending agenda items before the board. And since we do not have any communications from citizens regarding a pending agenda item, we will move to the consent agenda. Do I have a motion?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that we move items 7A and 7E in with the rest of the consent agenda items.
Second.
I heard Renee first. Trustee Janice Savage Martin moved and Trustee Renee McNeely second. Okay. Second the motion to amend the agenda as stated. If the board has a question, comment, or discussion, please state your name, whether it is a question, comment, or discussion. Does anyone have a question, comment, or discussion? No? Okay. We are ready for the vote on the motion to amend the agenda. As I call your name, please say yes to vote in favor or no to vote to oppose. Jacqueline Colton?
Yes.
Carla Fahey?
Yes.
Phil McNeely?
Yes.
Renee McNeely?
Yes.
Cassandra Phillips? Yes. Janice Savage Martin?
Yes.
Janet Vera Cruz?
Yes.
Okay, great. Motion passed 7-0. Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended?
So moved.
Okay, I heard Trustee Carla Fahey. And Phil, did you check? Oh, okay. And Trustee Phil McNeely seconded the consent agenda be approved as amended. If the board has a question, comment, or discussion, please state your name and whether it is a question, comment, or discussion. Do we have any questions, comments, or discussions? Scan in the room. Okay. We are ready for the vote on the consent agenda as amended. As I call your name, please say yes if you vote in favor or no if you vote to oppose. Jacqueline Colton?
Yes.
Carla Fahey?
Yes.
Phil McNeely?
Yes.
Renee McNeely?
Yes.
Cassandra Phillips? Yes. Janice Savage Martin?
Yes.
Janet Vera Cruz?
Yes.
Motion passed 7-0. Thank you, board. Okay. So, Okay, so we will now move on to the action agenda. And the first item is board authorization for the superintendent to hire during.
No.
Nope, sorry, y'all. We just moved
That
that
was
one. That was me. Okay. Bear with me. Thank you. I appreciate you.
You're doing awesome.
All right. So we are actually now moving to action item B, extending the resolution for premium pay through July 3rd, 2020. And the presenter is Mrs. Melissa Cates.
Yes, thank you, Madam President, members of the board, and Dr. Smith. Tonight I have before you, it's a request to extend the premium pay that was made under the resolution during an emergency in COVID. So on March 26th, that the board will recall, you all voted to give authority to the superintendent for a 90-day period during the COVID-19 emergency. And one of the items under this resolution was to allow for premium pay to certain individuals who actually came into work during this time. With the 90-day period that was initially approved, that's going to end on June 24th. But what we're asking tonight is for an extension to have premium pay end on July 3rd. And the reason for that date is because we're having the soft reopening on July 6th. So I would be happy to answer any questions, but that's the motion we have before you all tonight.
Do you have any questions? Or, okay. Okay, so thank you, Mrs. Cates. Do I have a motion in regards to extending the resolution for premium pay through July 3rd, 2020?
So moved.
Trustee Jacqueline Colton moved.
Second. It doesn't matter.
I heard Renee first.
Yeah.
Okay, so trustee Jacqueline Colton moved and trustee Renee McNeely seconded the motion. If there's a question, comment, or discussion, please state your name and whether it is a question, comment, or discussion. Any questions, comments, or discussions? Okay, we are ready for the vote on extending the resolution for premium pay through July 3rd, 2020. As I call your name, please say yes if you vote in favor or no if you vote to oppose. Jacqueline Colton?
Yes.
Carla Fahey?
Yes.
Bill McNeely?
Yes.
Renee McNeely?
Yes.
Sandra Phillips? Yes. Janice Savage Martin?
Yes.
Janet Vera Cruz?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, great. Motion passed 7-0. Thank you, board. We will now move to action item C, Edugent's Data Management Systems. The presenter is Dr. Kathy Sewell.
Thank you, Madam President, Board of Trustees, and Dr. Smith. Thank you for the opportunity this evening to discuss with you and present Edugent's Data Management System. We have engaged in a research of data management systems due to the fact that the current system we have is working, but we have experienced some technical difficulties with our system, and it is a little outdated for the needs that we have in the district. One of the things that is a very important piece of this data management system is its ability to provide a dashboard for college, career, and military readiness. And so as we improve in our student assessment data management, and as we improve in data analytics, in order to improve conditions for our students, for student achievement, we bring this to you all to ratify as we grow and use this system to improve college, career, military readiness, as well as other areas of the district. Additionally, Edugents does provide, as we conducted our research, Edugents does provide a tool that's also going to help us outside of academics, and that is with dashboards for student discipline and student attendance improvement. And so Mr. Copeland and his team are also very excited about the possibilities that the data that this system will bring and will support for us to help our students, not only in academics, but social, emotional, and working with attendance as well. So we bring this to you this evening to ratify this approval of this product. And I'd be happy to answer any questions if you all have any.
Thank you, Dr. Sewell.
Just to be clear now, this is an upgrade from our old system.
Yes, sir. It is an upgrade. We are currently using this system to track our English language learners and students who need interventions. It's got different segments to it. And so we are going to engage in utilizing the entire suite. And we're going to bring to you a plan of how we phase this in for training and technology integration throughout this year. We're going to have each system side by side so that we don't lose any data, that people are trained adequately before we launch it in full force later on in the school year. But we're very excited about it, and it is definitely an upgrade.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Sounds like y'all are ready.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Sewell. We appreciate your report and the research that you've done on that. Do I have a motion?
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I said it's been a team effort that my team some of my team members are here this evening and they've been a big help with that. So thank you.
Awesome. Well, tell them we thank them as well.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do I have a motion in regards to Edugent's data management system?
So moved.
Is that Janet?
Yes.
Trustee Janet Vera Cruz moved, and I think I heard Phil second.
Second. Yes.
Did I hear you, Phil? Or did
Yes.
Thank you, Trustee Phil McNeely. Okay. So Trustee Janet Vera Cruz moved, and Trustee Phil McNeely seconded the motion. If the board has a question, comment, or discussion, please state your name and whether it is a question, comment, or discussion. Any questions, comments, or discussion? No? Okay. We are ready for the vote on Edugent's data management systems. As I call your name, please say yes if you vote in favor of, or no if you vote to oppose. Jacqueline Colton?
Yes.
Carla Fahey?
Yes.
Phil McNeely?
Yes.
Renee McNeely?
Yes.
Cassandra Phillips? Yes. Janet Savage Martin?
Yes.
Janet Vera Cruz?
Yes.
Thank you, board. Motion passed 7-0. Thank you again, Mrs. Dr. Sewell. We will now, you're up again. We will now move to action item D, CTE Cosmetology. The presenter is Dr. Kathy Sewell.
Okay, thank you again, Madam President and members of the Board of Trustees, as well as Dr. Smith. I've got a quick few slides here to show you all the renovations that we've undergone at Duncanville High School regarding, as you can see, the cutting edge salon. And so next slide, please. So our cosmetology program has been in need of some upgrades for a few years. And so Ms. Payne, who is with us this evening, and her team have engaged in budgeting for this and also putting together a plan in order to best support and upgrade the 4-year course of study. And as you can see, Board of Trustees, the students complete 900 clock hours in this program to provide them the best training and the preparation for licensure in their cosmetology field. Our next slide. And so this is just a little background for you, Board of Trustees, regarding building requirements and the duties of us as a holder of the licensing for the salon and for having, proper sanitation, that we have an instructor for every 25 students. We have a daily record of attendance and things of those natures. Those things are all part of the regulations and licensing that we're required to uphold for the state. In our next slide here, you'll see our upgrades are underway, and we bring to you this evening the last phase of the upgrades for ratification of approval. And as you can see, the flooring is upgraded. They've done paint. We have cleaned out everything to be, repurpose this for a salon style teaching space. And it's just beautiful. The colors, the grays, the blacks, the slate, It is really a nice upgrade. And so the last phase that we bring to you this evening is to have our styling stations with the chairs, shampoo station, flooring mats, a facial bed, and the total is $93,704.69. Our next slide. And you can see our cabinetry, and you can also see the quartz bars, and we've got a lot more space now for our students to work. And the composition tile on the floor is just gives it just a real classy and professional feel. It's just going to be amazing when the last phases are completed. So I just want to include a few pictures so you all could see what's going on, what's been going on, and then we'll have our final project completion to you, and appreciate your support for this. And then we'll be able to bring this back to you when it's all final for your final review, to see all of the good work that's happened at the high school with the CTE team under Ms. Payne's leadership. And next slide. I think that's it. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you all may have.
Okay. Any questions? Okay.
Dr. Sewell?
Yes, ma'am.
I think this is a wonderful program, and I'm glad that the area is being refurbished. I was just wondering how many students on an annual basis participate in this program?
I would have to defer to Ms. Payne. I think she's with us here in the meeting, and refer to her on the exact number. I know we have quite a few that go to competition, but for specific numbers, I'll defer to Ms. Payne.
Okay. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Board of Trustees, Dr. Smith. Colton, to answer your question, the ratio by the state is 1 to 25 students per instructor. So for 9th grade, we have 2 classes of 25 that holds 50 students. For our 10th grade, we have 2 classes, 1 block that's 25 each per teacher. And then our Cosmetology 1, we have 2 sections of triple block, that's 25 apiece, that's 50 students in Cosmo 1. And our Cosmo 2, we have 2 triple blocks with 50 students as well. So we have annually from 9th through 12th grade, 300 openings. And currently this last school year, we finished with 291 students in the program.
Okay. And then percentage-wise, on average, how many go on to obtain their license?
So we have a very great success rate with licensures. We use average 90% passing prior to the senior year. However, this school year, as of July 11th, we were just able to secure a testing spot. We have 21 students that will, 21 of our graduates that will test this July. We have secured several dates between July 11th and July 24th for those students. We currently have additional students that will, graduating seniors that will attend boot camp. Our instructors will do a 2-week boot camp this July to allow them to recover hours that were not able to be clocked due to the COVID. However, we have a program called Mind Tap where our students were able to clock hours during the time that they were out. And we had a pretty good success rate, about a 90% attendance average as well.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the great work that y'all are doing with this program. It's certainly, it's certainly very valuable. So we appreciate your hard work.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you tell me at one time, we knew how many thousands of dollars it saved?
I'm sorry.
Hello?
Can I interject? I'm sorry. Let's do the motion first, and then we'll get to the question. Okay. I'm sorry. I was muted, and I was just talking, and y'all couldn't hear me. Sorry about that.
Oh.
Okay. So, but great questions, and we'll pick that up in just a second. Okay. Do I have a motion in regards to CTE cosmetology?
So moved.
I think I heard Trustee Jackie Colton.
Yes.
Okay. And then second?
Janice.
Janice. Okay. All right, so we have trustee Jackie Colton moved and board member trustee Janice Savage Martin seconded the motion. If the board has a question, comment, or discussion, please state your name and whether it is a question, comment, or discussion at this time. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Carla Fahey, and my question is the services of the department still available to the public? I mean, when the virus is over, is it still available to the public?
That was my question too.
Yes, ma'am.
And are the prices available on your website?
Yes, ma'am. We are in the process of working through the services, the program, practicum level courses that provide services. So there is an existing tab, but we will update that tab to show the services and the dates that services will be provided. Also, those courses will be doing community service projects. And so there will be certain things that you guys will receive in the community as it relates to the community service projects that the programs will be offering per cluster.
And one last thing, can you tell me how much your program would cost a student if they were taking outside training? I know it used to be in the thousands of dollars to get their license.
Yes, ma'am. A nonprofit organization or school like Ogle Cosmetology will cost a student $20,000 to participate in the program.
Yeah.
Had no idea.
We can graduate our students with the license and they're ready to go.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And trustee Phillips has a question. Mrs. Payne, thank you so much for providing the great information, but I do have a question. Well, no, it's actually a comment. I'm pretty sure that the community members that come in the services will appreciate the upgrades, the updates that are done, because it looks like a true salon, and I'm sure they'll love it. So thank you all for the work that you put in. Dr. Sewell, we appreciate all that y'all are doing for our students and our community.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you all for your support and just all of the support that you provide for us to be able to accomplish these things for students. We really appreciate that from you as well.
Okay, well, thank you so much. Okay, are there any other questions, comments, or discussions? Scanning. Okay, we are ready for the vote on CTE Cosmetology. As I call your name, please vote. Please say yes if you vote in favor or no if you vote to oppose. Jacqueline Colton?
Yes.
Carla Fahey?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, because I've got to rejoin, but okay, you can hear me. Great.
Okay, Phil McNeely?
Yes.
Renee McNeely?
Yes.
Sandra Phillips, yes. Janice Savage Martin?
Yes.
And Janet Vera Cruz?
Yes.
Thank you, board. Motion passed 7-0. Okay, we will now move to action item F, issuance of 2020 series bonds to refund 2013-B bonds. The presenter is Dr. Ed Bigby. Dr. Bigby, are you there?
You should be signing in.
Okay.
Yeah, I bet he can hardly wait.
Get Shantae here.
I'm here, Dr. Smith.
Okay, can you allow Dr. Bigby in?
I can. I'm looking to see. I think he's probably just trying to get in right now. I'll check with him.
Okay.
I vote for this. I gotta go let my dog out.
Look where my dog is. She wouldn't stop barking. So. Bill, you could come get the dog.
Okay, Madam President,
Yes.
until we can connect with Dr. Bigby, maybe we can go on to the next item and then we can see if we can get his technology figured out. And get him
It's
in.
him too.
Okay, so we're gonna move to information discussion agenda items?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Well,
Okay.
let's move to, since he's the first item, let's
Oh,
move to the next one
yeah,
until we
you're right.
can try to get his technology worked out.
Okay,
And I'm
you're right.
working offline with him now to try to get that going.
Okay, so we are going to move to information item B. While we wait for Dr. Bigby, we're going to move to the information discussion agenda items. Item B, School Health Advisory Council, presented by Mrs. Andrea Fields. Hello, Mrs. Fields.
Hello, and good evening, Madam President.
Oh, there she is.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Madam
I was just
President.
looking, I was looking for you. I was trying to look across the screen, so I see you.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Madam President, board members, and Dr. Smith. Tonight is my pleasure to present to you the School Health Advisory Council Annual Report. I want to present the report to you in March, and of course, because of the change in our schedule due to COVID-19, we are presenting to you tonight. Next slide. You have a detailed report before you, but I want to simply give you a few highlights of our work throughout the school year. You have the mission statement of the School Health Advisory Council, and of course, our main purpose is to promote health, wellness, and healthy lifestyles for our students and school community, really to serve as an advisory group to you as the Board of Trustees. Next slide, please. I want to thank the dedicated members of the School Health Advisory Council who served this year, and a special thank you and appreciation to our parents, community members who served. You see their names listed there, and of course, we are grateful for their service throughout the year. The School Health Advisory Council was slated to meet 4 times this year. Of course, we could not meet in the month of April due to our school being closed. Next slide, please. Again, this year's focus for the School Health Advisory Council was mental health, which was and continues to be a major portion of the governor's safety action plan. Next slide, please. With the new legislation for 2019-2020 school year, we were required to include suicide prevention as part of the district's mental health curriculum. Of course, this effort was led by our own Director of Counseling, Ms. Dan Harper, and she shared the available resources, support, and training that were being provided to various staff and members on suicide prevention. Additionally, in line with the safety action plan, we had a presentation from Mr. Joe Copeland on the district's revised online bullying prevention system. Next slide, please. In December, we had a wonderful presentation by the district's social and emotional counselors on their extensive work with students. Next slide, please. And in February, Ms. Donna Thomas, Director of Nutrition Services, shared an update and statistics on participation of our students in our child nutrition breakfast and lunch program. Also in February, right before we were out for the break, we also discussed the low impact of the flu in our schools as we had disinfected them on a schedule prior to the peak flu season. Next slide, please. Additionally, board, we had presentation by a representative from Phillips House and Phoenix House is a residential and outpatient treatment center for drug rehab and regarding the possible services and resources that would be available to our students. Lastly, I have put a few notes about COVID-19 moving forward. Of course, currently the school staff with the guidance from local and state governmental and health entities is preparing for the reopening of schools. And you're going to hear a lot more about that from Dr. Smith a little later on. But the SHAC report to give you a listing of some of the things we've done, items we've purchased, personal protective equipment that we've ordered. Of course, you see the numbers there of the mask and other things that we've detailed. And many of these things have already been deployed to staff and students this summer. With our athletes coming back this past week, we were able to provide some of those materials for them. We're still ordering personal protective equipment and cleaning products, and they'll be a part of our district inventory in preparation to the reopening of the school. And there are many more. Some of those a detailed cleaning and disinfecting plan for reopening school. A lot of our staff have returned back to be able to start this implementation of cleaning and disinfecting. So that concludes.
Well, unfortunately, looks like Ms. Fields is freezing on us, but I think that was the conclusion of her report.
Yeah.
So board members, turn it back over to you, Madam President.
Any questions?
Thank you, Mrs. Fields. Board members, any questions for Mrs. Fields? Great work you're doing. You and your team are awesome. We appreciate you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your support.
Okay.
Madam President,
Yes.
if I may, I think Dr. Bigby has his technology worked out now.
Okay.
And
So,
we can try to get him in.
okay. We will go back to Dr. Bigby. Okay, so we are, is he there? Okay, so we will move back to action item F, issuance of 2020 series bonds to refund 2013-B bonds. The presenter is Dr. Ed Bigby.
Thank you, Mr. President, board. Sorry I missed you earlier. I'll try to make it up.
Okay.
Our financial advisor has advised us that this is a great time to refund some of the bonds that we have. They were issued in 2013. The interest rate at that time was 4%. The interest rate yesterday was 0.86%. So their suggestion is refund $20 million worth of bonds that should save us $1.1 million in the future. We won't realize that savings for a couple of years, but our bond payments will go down about $300,000 a year for 3 years. That's their suggestion. There's certainly nothing keeping us from doing it. The order to be signing, if you approve this, states that when it comes time to sell those, if they can't save us at least $1 million, then it won't go through. So that's the way the order is written now. It's quite a detailed, with a lot of lawyer jargon in it, but that's basically what it sets up to sell those to save the district a little over $1 million over the life of those bonds. So our recommendation certainly would be to approve it and entertain any questions that you might have.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Bigby. Do I have a motion in regards to the issuance of 2020 series bonds to refund 2013-B bonds? I'm sorry, I couldn't get that out.
So moved.
Okay.
So moved.
Trustee Phil McNeely moved and Janice Savage Martin second. Trustee Janice Savage Martin seconds the motion. If the board has a question, comment, or discussion, please state your name and whether it is a question, comment, or discussion. Any questions, comments, or discussions? Okay. Then we are ready for the vote on the issuance of 2020 series bonds to refund 2013-B bonds. As I call your name, please say yes if you vote in favor or no if you vote to oppose. Jacqueline Colton,
Yes.
Carla Fahey, Carla Fahey,
She's on mute.
You're
on mute.
Yes.
Thank
Yes.
you. Phil McNeely,
Yes.
Renee McNeely,
Yes.
Cassandra Phillips, yes. Janice Savage Martin,
Yes.
Janet Vera Cruz.
Yes.
Thank you, board. Motion passes 7-0. We will now move into, we'll move back into the information discussion agenda items where Dr. Bigby is up again.
Thank you, Madam President. Wanted to briefly go over a lot of information that you've already seen on next year's budget. We'll have a much more detailed presentation for you next Monday as we go to the budget workshop. But wanted to remind you of some things. There's a few new things in here that bring out. I'm going to go through it rather quickly, but just throw something out there and stop me if you want to stop and discuss some of those pieces. Okay, next slide. This is some of that information that we've seen before. We're spending quite a bit of money on technology. That's right now, but may pick up again. They've calculated our ADA for this year, and it's going to cost us about $775,000, but we're still in really good shape. We reported to you premium pay last time. Through the last pay period, we paid $124,809 in premium pay, and that went to 187 different individuals. We have 240 that are now approved to work away from home, so that number's probably going to go up. We've got some secretaries coming back on campus to the end of the year and get some things done. So it's probably going to go higher in June. Once again, transportation, since we aren't driving miles, we're not going to get as much funding as what we budgeted. We're also not spending as much money. Okay, next slide. Once again, the comptroller's going to ask all the state agencies to cut 5 to 10%. They did exclude us as school districts from that cut. I'll talk to you a little more when we get into the CARES funding, but we don't know for sure anything about 2021. Theoretically, the biennium is funded for 2021, but anything can happen. Hopefully it won't, but we'll just have to wait and see what happens during that school year. Okay, next slide, please. Once again, we're still gathering information to try to get the federal government to reimburse. Basically, all they'll do is the cleaning and sanitation supplies and overtime that we paid to people to do that. We're tracking all of those items, and we'll submit that to them when we can. They only refund 75%, but that's better than getting nothing refunded. They won't handle any of our distance learning expenses, supplies or postage for instructional baskets, or food service costs, since those are done through a different program. Okay, next slide, please. CARES funding. We've had a lot of discussion about this, and I'll stay on this for just a moment. The federal government has given the state of Texas considerable money. They have divided it up according to what our friend count is, and Duncanville's awarded a little over $2.6 million. And they announced that we will get that instead of the state funding that we were going to get this year. And so they're going to reduce our state funding amounts that are coming in by that amount, and then we're going to replace it with these federal funds. So it should close to wash. They're only sending 95% of that, but it'll come close to washing out. We'll have a lot of record keeping to do and some different things, but as far as our ability to do the things that we've been doing, we'll have just about the same amount of money. So it's a now you see me, now you don't thing from the state, and there's not much we can do about it. They did the same thing in 2009 with that stimulus money, but at least they didn't keep us from counting ADA for the last 6 weeks of this year. So that's their justification of that. We'll be bringing you a little more information about that as we get going. We can use that money to pay salaries to people that we kept on rather than doing a reduction in force. So it's going to be easy to justify spending that amount of money. It's just not going to, it's going to take a little more paperwork to do it. Okay, next slide. Once again, this is and I won't go through each one of these just so we can give you an idea of what's happened over the past years as far as salary increases for our staff. And you've been very, or as much as you can, you've been very generous with what you could do. And there's from 15, 16 to 18, 19 here. Okay, next slide, please. And once again, the financial ratings are high and our audits have been good. Not trying to brag, it's just more reassurance to the public that you and the administrative staff are good stewards of their money. Next slide, please. If you remember, this year we were supposed to spend at least $1.6 million of the new money. We spent $3.2 million on salary increases. You were very generous with how we were able to do that. And I know our employees were very satisfied with what took place. Next slide. Once again, you raised the beginning teacher pay to $53,000. Teachers got between $2,200 and $2,300. Everyone got 3% of midpoint, and several auxiliary employees got some considerable adjustments because they were behind when compared to the industry in our area. So you did a lot of catching up last year, and it's been very appreciated. All right, next slide, please. Ms. Brown's brought this to you before. Unless you have some questions, I'll stay with it. It basically compares our salaries to many of the other districts in Region 10, as you can see. And as we've talked about, with what took place last year, we're very competitive with many of the surrounding districts in Region 10 and better than some. So what took place last year really caught us up in some districts. The next slide is just a graphic representation of those numbers. Once again, when they cross at that highest end, these are higher end schedules. They're not people that have been in the district for many years. Their salaries are much higher than those. All right, next slide, please. Once again, our budget timeline is shrinking considerably. We're updating tonight. We will post legal notices about a budget hearing on the 18th and the 25th. We'll actually hold the hearing on the 29th. I didn't put the budget workshop on here on the 22nd. That's scheduled. And then we'll receive our final certified values in July, the end of July. And in the workshop, we'll talk quite a bit more about tax rate and how those values affect it and how TEA is talking about interpreting those. It's a different kind of ball game this year and gets quite convoluted as you go through the process, but we'll have time to really sit down and talk about that in the workshop. Okay, next slide, please. This is what we're looking like. We've got most of the numbers put together. You can see that when we compare 1920 and 2021, there's about $900,000 more revenue. And of course, our expenditures will match the revenue. So in the general fund, there's $900,000. If you remember, we talked about, we had added over $400,000 worth of personnel. So that'll take up $400,000 of that. So there's very little money to play with difference from this year, and that's mainly because of our ADA. Child nutrition, their budgets come in at about 150,000 higher than last year. And debt service, spend just a second on this. If you remember this year, we budgeted revenue of 16.8 and our payment was going to be 18.8. So we were asking you to spend $2 million out of that fund balance. Well, our revenues come in considerably higher than that. So we're only going to ask you to spend about 1.3 of that out of fund balance. And we'll go into that in depth also as in the budget workshop. Next year's revenues should be a little over 18 million. So it's gone up 1.2 million because of the taxable values. And our expenditures are just a little bit less than 20,000 less than last year. So you can see, even if you allow us to pay the difference out of fund balance next year, it's going to be just a little over $1 million. So that's really coming down. Of course, that's because the values are increasing and our debt service payments are pretty well flat. Once again, we'll have a bigger breakdown of that in the workshop, so you'll really have an opportunity to discuss those things. Okay, next slide, please. We talked about this last time about the HD1 plan for an individual went up $19 a month. We built that into next year's budget. It's an increase of about $260,000 to make those people on HD1 whole or not increase their premiums. Some interesting things happened with that, and I've got some graphic things for the workshop to show you, but many people saved a lot of money because the other areas of the insurance, like employee and spouse or employee and children, some of those rates went down. So some of our individuals will save almost $2,000 a year on their insurance premiums. So that's a plus, plus you don't rarely see, but I'll show you a table of those and you can see how those employees are going to actually save. There's certainly other ones that they went up on, but I can show you that in a spreadsheet, and it'll make a lot of our employees pretty happy and should. Okay, next slide. Once again, our fund balance, we ended this year with 9 million, 6.5 million of that was TRE money. So the true fund balance was 52.5 million, which is about 5 months. Because of the situation this year, and I hate to keep saying, well, next week we'll do this, but fund balance is going to be, we're going to add quite a bit to fund balance just simply because we didn't do a lot of the things that we do from March to June typically. So there'll be quite a bit there added into fund balance. So that's a strong fund balance, and it'll be even stronger at the end of this year. All right, next slide, please. Once again, this is when we'd ask you for $2 million. That's going to be like 1.3, somewhere in that area. So we're going to have well over $10 million still in our debt service fund balance, which is great. All right, next slide. Bond, if you saw in the bond report today, this number is actually down to about $4.8 million. We're spending it down, which we should be doing. We still have quite a bit to go on the police station renovation that's still in there, and finishing up some other projects, safety and security items. But before we do anything beyond what we've approved, we'll bring it back to you in a meeting. All right, next slide. And that's the 2021 overview. As I said, much more information is coming. But certainly try to answer any questions or respond to any comments that you might have.
Thank you, Dr. Bigby. We appreciate all that you and your team are doing. If the board has a question, comment, or discussion, please state your name and whether it is a question, comment, or discussion at this time.
I got a question. Do you have the function sheet and what we're going to budget for each function?
Yes, sir. Yeah, we'll have it for you at the workshop.
I'd like to have it before that.
Okay. We can certainly get it to you.
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh.
Carla Fahey.
My name is Carla Fahey, and I have a question. If our June 29th meeting is on Zoom, is it possible to have a public hearing?
I think we can. We just have to make it. We have to put in the notice how they can link into Zoom to do that. Everybody's having to do it that way, so we'll look at it for sure. But I think as long as we give them the public an opportunity to see the link, and we can put that in the paper, even if we haven't discussed that, but to let them know. But that would give them the opportunity to listen in on the presentation, and we could have their comments.
Thank you.
Yes.
Great questions.
Just to add that we will be able to meet all the legal requirements for community and open records as it relates to our June 29th meeting.
Thank you.
Any other, Jackie? Trustee Colton.
Thank you, Dr. Bixby. I have a question. Are there any plans for any salary increases?
Not, no, not as far as across the board or any kind of salary increases. We're working on a deal that Dr. Smith and I haven't even had a chance to visit with about some inequities because of not that, but because of our revenue, we haven't planned any salary increases.
Okay. Well, yeah, you've indicated that we have a healthy fund balance currently, and that it is anticipated to grow significantly. And since currently we're 5 months fund balance and TA recommendation is 3, there,
Yes,
could be additional funds, to support increases in salary for the teachers and administration and staff.
Yeah, there are some. Go ahead, Dr. Smith.
No, go ahead, Dr. Bigby. I was just going to say that we are indeed considering other options. One of the options that we're looking at is a one-time stipend for our employees. The reason we want to look at the one-time stipend is because it's not something that we would commit to the budget from this point forward. And so when Dr. Bigby was alluding to salary increases, we do salary increases, that would be something that we would have to assume for the budget from this point forward. And because of the unpredictable nature of what's going to be happening with COVID and the funding situation at the state level, I wasn't prepared to recommend the board move in that direction for this year. And so we are studying other alternatives to be able to reward our staff, and we're going to be outlining that for you at our budget workshop coming up.
Okay. And then also, the board members had made some suggestions for the 21 budget. And I guess when you present the information on the budget, if you would show how you've addressed the recommendations of the board, that would be appreciated.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Did someone's?
I thought I heard someone call your name.
Or something.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Great questions. Any other questions, comments, or discussions for Dr. Bigby? No? Okay. Well, thank you again, Dr. Bigby. We appreciate all of your work. At this time, we will move into information item C, social emotional learning, presented by Joe Copeland.
Good evening, Madam President.
Joe Copeland.
Good evening, Madam President, Board of Trustees, and Dr. Smith. I'm going to wait for the presentation to come up here. Here we go. It is with great pleasure to provide you with an update on our social emotional learning initiative. Our journey with SEL began this year in Duncanville. And as you all are aware, now more than ever, it's critical that we are prepared to meet the needs of our students in the areas of social and emotional development. I want to take the time to thank you all again for all that you've done to support the initiative. Through your support, we have begun to lay the groundwork for our staff to support students socially and emotionally. If you hit the next slide, please. As with any journey, we needed to begin with a map. Our map consisted of consulting experts to ensure that we were on the right path. Region 10 and CASEL, which is the Collaborative for Academic and Social and Emotional Learning, have proven to be invaluable partners. Our plan in Duncanville ISD is tightly based on the framework for SEL that is provided to us by CASEL. Additionally, there were many mandates that were a direct result of the 86th legislative session that we made a part of our plan. Next slide, please. As you can see from all the check marks on this page, our journey in phase 1 has brought us much success. Some highlights from our first goal of providing ongoing professional development include all campuses participating in the Trauma Summit, which helped them better understand the effects that trauma can have on student lives. We had a total of 923 participants. Our student support counselors provided social emotional skills training to campuses upon request. During the school year, we were able to provide mental health first aid training to 428 staff members. This summer, we have an approximately 170 individuals registered to participate in this mental health first aid training virtually. We have implemented a social-emotional curriculum using Sanford Harmony for the elementary grades and Second Step for middle schools. All the K-8 campuses embedded time in their master schedule for social-emotional learning curriculum implementation. Our high school has 2 support counselors, and during the 1920 school year, they provided hands-on social and emotional support for students and staff training as well. Our support counselors will continue their much needed support as we move into the next school year. We have also increased our community partnerships by securing telehealth virtual counseling services and expanding our partnership with Youth 180, which is a social emotional counseling group focusing on behavior management and students who have been exposed to. Next slide.
Might want to mute.
Okay. We know the journey has begun for us in Duncanville. We know the journey has just begun for us in Duncanville for social emotional learning. And I'm very excited to highlight some of the initiatives that we've been doing, that we will be doing in our next phases. Phase 2 will occur during the 2020-21 school year. And some of our goals will include ensuring that all campus professionals are trained in mental health first aid, along with the National Educators for Restorative Practices training, a continuation of our social emotional curriculum, social emotional professional development, implementing monthly newsletters, and looking into providing equity and diversity training. Phase 3, which could be another year and a half out, is in the developmental stage, and our goal is to continue training and evaluate our progress and provide whatever our students and staff will need to continue to grow. Next slide, please. We have also listed some need to knows regarding each phase. Phase 1 requires campuses to complete the trauma and mental health first aid training. Staff can attend training virtually this summer as well. We are offering mental health first aid training for staff and support staff. Principals can elect to offer training on a campus professional development day during the upcoming school year. They can elect for campus staff to attend online or bring the training to their campus on days that work best for them, similar to what we did last summer. During phase 2, we are actively looking for virtual training opportunities in mental health first aid for all campus staff who were not able to participate during the past school year. Hopefully, they'll continue that this summer. This summer, we are also planning on participating in restorative practices training. This will include our first cohort to receive restorative practices training virtually. Cohort 1 will consist of 98 participants, which will include my campus support team, all K through 12 counselors, assistant principals, and principals from campuses that have completed phase 1. The entire PACE staff will be included in that cohort, and a few of our special education behavior specialists. The planning for phase 3, once again, is in progress, where we are partnering. We're going to continue to partner with our curriculum and instruction department to provide many more training opportunities for our staff during designated PD days, which will be scheduled during the upcoming school year. Next slide, please. Here's an example of what our counselors and behavior intervention specialists have been providing for our students and staff during the last several weeks of learning at home. This spring, as you know, we had a challenge continuing our epic social emotional journey. We found ourselves at home more often and in need of support to care for our social and emotional well-being. Our counselors and behavior intervention specialists created a series of coping with quarantine videos to help our students and staff. And at this time, we will share one example of those videos. So if you don't mind, someone in technology, please. Hopefully it will come up.
Hi, we're having some technical difficulties with the video.
That's okay. What I can do, and I can't pull it up right now, but we have a plethora of these videos on our website that are available under the coronavirus link. You'd have to search through those, but we have lots of those videos available by numerous counselors and our behavior intervention specialists, just for your viewing or anyone else. And the word is out, and our students and staff have been participating in watching these videos. So I thank you for the opportunity to share the progress of our social emotional learning initiative, and it will be my pleasure to answer any questions that you may have.
Mr. Copeland, great job. Thank you so much. We really appreciate the work that you all are doing, because this at this time right now is so very important that our students and staff receive the support that's needed. So at this time, I'm going to open it up. If the board has any questions, comments, or discussions, please state your name and whether it is a question, comment, or discussion. Any questions, comments?
Right now you're on mute.
She's on mute.
Now you're on mute.
Okay, Renee McNeely, I have a comment.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
I would just like to commend all the work and efforts, and also to tell Mr. Copeland that I might still could use some of those counseling techniques on being quarantined and stuck in the house. But what I also want to remind the board is that I believe that it was about a year ago this time at our board workshop where we discussed the fact that we thought we needed some more support type counselors, and it was at that time that Dr. Smith and his team started working on that, and we just had a presentation of just 1 year of what has taken place within our district, and it's an ongoing process, and I'm so proud of all the work that everybody's done.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
I second that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And the phases, the way you all are phasing it, that's awesome. Just taking it. Yeah, I love it. Thank you.
You're so welcome. Thank you all for your support again.
Okay. Anyone else have any questions, comments, or discussion? Carla? She's on mute. Somebody let her know she's on mute. She's on mute.
On mute. You're on mute.
The host muted me when my dog was barking. Okay.
Don't blame the dog.
Did you have a question, comment, or discussion? No? Okay. All right, I think we are good. Thank you again, Mr. Copeland. Okay, at this time, let me see where we are. Got a little off here. Okay, so we are going to move to information item D, distance learning update, grading guidelines presented by Dr. Kathy Sewell. Hello again.
Hello again, Board of Trustees, Madam President, and Dr. Smith. There's a quick slide presentation that I have to give you all an overview of what's transpired since our transition into quarantine with COVID-19. And so we just wanted to highlight our journey from this spring and show you what has taken place from a balcony view, and to explain to you some of the great things that were developed with our team in Duncanville ISD. And so as you can see, we have our presentation entitled Student Success in Virtual School. And so as we go to the next slide, it will show you an overview of the continuity of learning plan that we designed. And I do have Dr. Karen Halachka and Ms. Tiffany King here in the board meeting to recognize them and their respective teams and our whole division as to how we put this at-home learning model together basically in a matter of 10 days. And so they are to be commended, and their teams for such a great amount of work and a great level of quality with that work for our families. And as you can see, this model is just an overview of our students having weekly digital materials. And they had methods to submit their assignments, and whether it was through Google Classroom or if their parents just needed to take a picture with their phone and send it to the teacher that way. Teachers had office hours, so they would be able to be available where families, parents, and children would know when they would be able to contact their teachers, and their teachers would be readily available. We also provided printed materials for parents that didn't have ongoing access for technology in the home, or if they had limited access and multiple users of technology in the home due to people being home from work and having to be online as well. And so on our next slide, as you can see, this is our Learning at Home website, and we provided supplemental resources for family support. And there's a long list of all of the different areas of education and support that was contributed to our Learning at Home website. Librarians, accountability, technology, digital learning, work packet alignment, just all types of staff and support employees were involved in developing this. Even our fine arts, we just had a lot of great things available for our students and for our parents. And in addition to that, we also had content coordinators and many of our campuses reach out to parents and have parent training sessions along with our technology instructional specialists. And so it was a joint project between technology. The technology team was extremely supportive of our team, as well as our communications team, student support, our chiefs. We just all worked together to do our best to support children and families in this time, and it showed. Next slide, please. And this is an example of a Google Classroom assignment. And one of the things I did want to share, Ms. Cowan shared this with me as I was preparing this overview for the Board of Trustees. And we have a way to track our Google Classroom and how many people are engaged in the classroom, if they're interacting with the classroom. And we've been running at about 40,000 engagements, meaning, you know, interactions of 40,000 times in a certain month or a time period. And when we went into COVID, that jumped from 40,000 to 80,000, basically in a couple of weeks. So our Learning at Home materials were definitely utilized, and our training and launching of the Google Classroom district-wide was also utilized quite a bit by that data that Ms. Cowan shared with me. So I wanted to let you all know about that with the number of engagements basically doubling. Next slide, please. And again, I did talk through the learning packets briefly, but we did, as you saw in Dr. Smith's superintendent's overview, as well as in our photo here, we had packets, and a packet party for a couple of weeks as we prepared, organized, worked with our Region Service Center for printing and courier delivery, and our teacher specialists and some of our teachers, and just lots of staff helped in getting these packets deployed and dropped off for parents and in the mail. Next slide, please. And then once we began our instruction, we had to look very seriously at what grading would look like in a quarantine and virtual world, with some students having access to technology to continue with their education without missing a beat, and where other students may not have technology access or may have been in a situation where they had to immediately go to work and increase their hours due to their family circumstances. And so through our journey with our school principals, our chiefs, with the CNI team and Dr. Halachka really looking at our success-driven grading guidelines, we were able to work through what our penalties would not occur, that all assignments would be accepted, not dependent upon time. Dr. Smith provided us a very clear vision that we were going to be success-driven in all we did, and student-focused and student-supportive in everything that we designed, and for the accountability for our teachers to be mindful of the fact that we were in a crisis and in a pandemic. And so as you can see in the success-driven grading guidelines, students were afforded completion grades, as well as duplicating the third 9 weeks grade if that grade benefited them more than their fourth. And if their fourth benefited them more, then we averaged that up. And we also looked at students' circumstances through a determination matrix at the end of the semester. And those students that had exhibited good grades and had been very successful on their interim assessments and their district assessments, but had specific challenges in COVID, that determination matrix was a tool that we were able to use with our campus administration in order to promote students and the success that they earned, even though it was more of a challenge for them in COVID. And then finally, we engaged in a grade placement committee where our campus administrators and teachers were able to review each student that was in need of a grade placement committee and look at interventions and strategies to help them be successful, either to finish out the year, through late assignments in June, or to particularly get specific support in our summer support programs that are going on. Our next slide. And we provided lots of support with our instructional staff. We had exemplar lessons for our Google Classrooms. We had parent trainings. We provided lesson plan templates, and we modified our scope and sequence because we were in a different setting, in a different situation where the learning curve was quite different for our teachers and for our families. And so we also engaged in team meetings and PLCs to have support for our teachers and families out in the field. And so we were able to communicate and provide that support routinely. We created question and answer documents. So when questions came up, we just kept a running list of them so people could benefit and learn from others' questions and what the needs were out in the field. And then we also had click sheets, webinars, and how-to videos that people could access 24/7. Next slide. Oh, that is our final slide. So I would be available to answer any questions if you all have any further questions regarding the last 9 weeks of instruction while we were experiencing COVID.
You guys have done such an amazing job. You had 2 weeks to figure it all out, and in a matter of 2 weeks, you trained, you support, you doubled the workload, and everybody did it with a smile and just went on like it was the norm. and that starts with the leadership. So you all are Jackie, I know you want to say this. I know you're going to say it, that they are to be commended. I know it's coming, but I'll stop there. But we just want you to know that you all have done an amazing job, because I don't think any of us could ever imagine what it would be like to walk in your shoes during that time. So I'm going to stop there and just say that if the board has a question, comment, or discussion, please state your name and whether it is a question, comment, or discussion at this time.
Thank you, Ms. Phillips.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President.
You're welcome. Any questions, comments, or discussions for Dr. Sewell? Yes.
Just a great job. Great job.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
And you took the words out of my mouth when you said we didn't miss a beat. You did not miss a beat. Our students are they were still on track, and they're graduating, and we're excited. So thank you for all that was done. Yes.
Well, thank you, Madam President and Board of Trustees. Again, like I said, Dr. Hlochka, Ms. King, our chiefs of schools, technology, communications, HR with teacher expectations, our operations. I mean, everyone, student support that's on our team, just really responding to Dr. Smith and just having a can-do attitude. We don't have any limits when we work together as a team, and that's what we did. And so I'm honored to just be part of that work. Thank you.
And you all did that. Thank you.
Thank you, board, for the feedback. We appreciate that.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Sewell. Information item E, graduation 2020, presented by Dr. Sam Nix.
Well, thank you, and good evening, President Phillips, members of the board, and Dr. Smith. It is my absolute pleasure to share with you a brief timeline of the mandates, of the options, and ultimately the decision made to provide our students with a wonderful upcoming graduation experience at Globe Life Field. Next slide, please. Duncanville ISD solidified UTA as a graduation venue early in the year, and we were set to graduate on May the 28th. However, in the wake of COVID-19, school districts were provided with options for graduation from multiple sources, of which included Governor Abbott's orders, TEA guidelines, local county health and human service guidelines. And these options oftentimes were misaligned and sometimes contradictory to each other. But basically they boiled down to three options. One was an in-person graduation. Second was a virtual ceremony. And of course, third was a hybrid ceremony in which there would be a combination of small groups captured virtually and shared universally. Next slide, please. As we began to digest the constant changes and messages coming from the various state and local entities, and to better understand the preferences of our stakeholders, and under the supervision and vision of Dr. Smith, we provided a survey to the seniors and parents of seniors to gauge their level of interest in the production we had. So for those who are running the slide, would you please click? We had 1,506 participants in the survey. And as you can see, there was overwhelming support for outdoor in-person graduation ceremony. There was roughly 82% wanted to have an outdoor graduation. The second graphic that you see there is basically the green indicates individuals that wanted an outdoor in-person ceremony. Please continue to click. And the orange represents the vehicle ceremony, whereas the red and blue indicate the preference for a virtual ceremony. Please continue to click. So as you look, you'll see that in this second survey slide, roughly 85% of the participants preferred an an in-person graduation. And then of course, lastly, the last slide, 44% of the individuals that took the survey were seniors, and 56% of the individuals that took the survey were parents. And I think it's really important to note that of the 972 graduates that we have, 663 of them took the survey. And really glad that we were able to be responsive to the wishes of our students and community. Next slide, please. This slide represents all of the decision points that we had to consider in preparing for graduation. As you can see, the guidelines were constantly changing and oftentimes contradictory. But Duncanville ISD was very proactive regarding the graduation ceremony from the initial conversations of the impact of COVID-19. We anticipated a challenge with the May 28th date, and we went ahead and solidified 2 additional summer dates with UTA, which were June the 26th and July the 15th. On April the 28th, UTA informed us that they were going to cancel all May events. And so we already had solidified the June 26th reservation, so we were set to go. And then of course on May 4th, they informed us that they would honor our June 26th reservation date, but they would limit capacity to 88 graduates and 1,024 guests. Well, that's not gonna work for us. We have a little bit more than 88 graduates. So we had to just kind of continue with the planning process. And as we just really thought through and were patient through all of the changes, all of the decisions, and as we looked at and surveyed the community and the stakeholders, we were able to eventually reserve Globe Life Field. And on May 18th, TEA provided guidance for graduation that basically made it okay to graduate outside on or after May 29th. So the highlight here is that we had to be extremely fluid in our planning and in our decision-making, but ultimately we are looking forward to June 20th at 7:30 when we are graduating at Globe Life Field. Next slide, please. Just wanted to give a brief overview. Of course, there are several districts that have elected to celebrate their students through a completely virtual or hybrid ceremony. But here's a list of surrounding districts that have taken advantage of utilizing large venues for their in-person graduations in adherence with social distancing guidelines. There are many others, but these are just a few examples, 2 of the largest being Texas Motor Speedway and of course, Globe Life Field. Next slide, please. This has been such a challenging time for the senior class this year. But the senior cap and gown pickup was such an emotionally charged and exciting time for these seniors as teachers, staff, several board members, parents, all came together as a school community to just celebrate as the students secured their graduation apparel. There were approximately 745 seniors that participated in this pickup. It was just such an exciting event for them. And so we were very thankful that we were able to celebrate that with and for them. Next slide, please. This is just a slide as an example that Duncanville ISD continues to work collaboratively with Globe Life Field in establishing an information packet that outlines processes and procedures for the event, which include public health and safety guidelines, security, seating maps, parking procedures, ingress screening, dismissal procedures. So once again, this is just an example, but Duncanville is working with the Rangers and Globe Life Field to create a personalized event packet for every individual prior to getting to the graduation and also at graduation. Next slide, please. So we're excited about this opportunity for our seniors, and it would definitely be my pleasure to answer any questions that you may have at this time.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Nix. Dr. Nix. Yeah, you're done. Okay. Want to make sure I got that right. Well, we appreciate all the efforts of the parents, and more importantly, we appreciate you all for doing the survey and asking the students and the parents what they would prefer once we got the okay. So thank you. Great, great job. At this time, I want to open it up. If the board has a question, comment, or discussion, please state your name and whether it is a question, comment, or discussion for Dr. Nix. Any questions, comments, discussions? No? Okay. Thank you
Yeah.
again. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh,
Trustee
Jackie
Colton.
Colton and Dr. Nix, thank you all for your, strategic vision and planning. What you're doing is you're actually making dreams come true. Because a lot of seniors and parents had given up on having an in-person graduation. Now, you all made that happen. And thank you so much. Thank you and your staff and Dr. Smith and everyone, because that's the culmination, of your schooling. So thank you. That's all I can say.
Yes.
Great job.
Thank you, Ms. Colton, for the feedback. We appreciate that.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Smith and Dr. Nix. Okay, and at this time, we are going to move into, information item F, with reopening of school presented by Dr. Smith.
Well, thank you, Madam President. Thank you, board members. Appreciate your patience with us as we have tried to work through the technology. This is our last information item this evening, and it is centered around our school reopening plan. We've been engaged in a very strategic process to open school. And so I want to share that with you, give you an opportunity to hear and digest, and then of course answer any questions that you may have at the end. First, I do want to say that, time is ticking fast. We do plan on opening school on August 12th. That's the first day of school for us, and we do plan on opening school. I don't plan on having any calendar changes. So that's a footnote that I wanted to highlight for you. We, of course, are looking at several options, but one of the primary options that I think is going to be best suited for us is a combination of an in-person and a face-to-face, in-person or face-to-face and a remote option. And so that will be able to capture the needs of our students. One key piece that we're waiting on is we're waiting direction from the state on funding, in particular as it relates to ADA. For those students who elect to stay at home, I do anticipate that there will be students that will elect to stay home for various safety reasons. And so the state, as of today, have not given any clarity on how the ADA will be captured for those students. We do have a meeting with the commissioner on this Thursday, and we are thinking the conversation is that he will speak to this issue, and I certainly hope that he gives some specifics. As soon as I get specifics on that information, of course I will be updating the board, because it's a game changer basically in terms of what we'll be able to do as we start plans for the opening school on August 12th. Obviously this year is not going to be business as usual. It is very much a different year. We have a total of 8 weeks and 2 days until the start of the new school year. You can wrap your arms around that. 8 weeks, 2 days. That's not very much time for us to get prepared to launch school in the environment that we're in. Currently, our facilities are not open to the public just yet. There are 3 primary reasons that I think that we need to continue with that process. One, we are prepping our facilities for the start of the school year, and that is going to be a very intensive cleaning process. 2, we want to continue to minimize the number of people that are in facilities. And of course, we can control our staff and our students. Opening up to the public is a little more harder to control and manage. And then we want to have an opportunity to learn from the small groups of students and staff that we are cycling back into our facilities. And there may be things that we can learn and make adjustments so that we can be prepared for when we open up. Feedback is very much a part of the reopening plan. I want to share with you what I've done to gain feedback from various stakeholders. I've worked with our team, and we have 3 surveys, 3 groups of individuals that we're surveying. We're surveying our families, we're surveying employees, and we're surveying principals. The family survey is online now. that will be an opportunity for me to get feedback from parents on a number of different issues related to returning school. That information will be valuable because it will drive key decisions that we will make as to how we'll set up our instructional program, what our capacity potentially may be, and how we will practice social distancing. I also have a survey going out to employees as part of the reopening plan because it's going to impact employees as well. We want to have data from them to see what their comfort level is, what their concerns are, and then answer questions associated with their comfortableness with returning to work in an in-person environment. So that information is going to be critical in terms of our planning, our reopening process. And then our principals. Of course, I want to hear from our principals because they are going to be kind of the boots on the ground as the campus leaders, making the plan work and ensuring the safety of all, and of course being the caretakers of our instructional program. So their input is absolutely critical in the process. And so once we get all this data back from the various stakeholders, we'll be analyzing that data. That's going to help us drive decision making as we move forward. Of course, a key part of the reopening plan is to minimize the risk of COVID-19, to slow the spread of the virus. And so we will be following all the recommendations from the CDC experts, from the Dallas County experts, from all the best practices that have been published in writing. To the best of our ability, we're going to make sure that we are implementing all of those best practices, or as many of those best practices as possible. Several weeks ago, really it's been a couple of months ago, as I started to get a feel for the trend of the governor and the conversation from TEA that there was going to be a reopening slowly, and then that reopening process to the state obviously has accelerated. And I also was able to glean from those conversations that there was going to be an expectation for schools to reopen. And so because of that, I wanted to be ahead of the curve. I wanted to get prepared and get ready for what that was going to mean for us. So we have made a huge effort to get a lot of safety features in place so that we can be prepared when our students and staff return. We've already purchased over 20,000+ masks in our district so that we can be prepared to deploy those out to all of our staff, in particular our frontline workers, our nurses, our food service, our bus drivers, our custodial staff, our teachers and students. We have purchased over 200 thermometers that we will be able to outfit at all of our facilities, and our nurses will be providing leadership on utilizing those thermometers so that we can make sure that we can detect any issues that exist on a daily basis. We've purchased already 26 e-Mister machines. These are going to be housed at every campus. These e-Mister machines, if you can kind of imagine kind of the backpack with a big machine where you can mist and spray various parts of your facility. Each campus has that, and we're going to be utilizing that so that we can continue to sanitize and disinfect on a daily basis our facilities. We have 8,000 what are called flex wipes. These are medical grade wipes that will be utilized all throughout the district for various cleaning purposes, for teachers and other staff members to clean doorknobs and desks and equipment and things that are touched throughout the course of a school day. We have hand foggers that we've already purchased. These are handheld foggers that you will spray throughout campuses, throughout classrooms, throughout all of our facilities. The purpose of that is, again, to continue to intensify the sanitizing and the disinfecting of our buildings during the course of the school day. Hand sanitizer dispensers for campuses as well as buses. All of these items are either in the process of being purchased or have already been purchased. And many of them we've already deployed out to some of our groups that are already back working in the schools. And so we have wanted to make sure that we show our parents and our stakeholders that we've been proactive. And so you may have seen social media that we have used to demonstrate the things that we're doing to minimize the risk, prepare our campuses for a safe return for our students. If you could go to the next slide, please. I mentioned that UIL gave some permission to summer workouts and practices and other extracurricular activity groups. We have deployed many of our safety equipment out to those groups, and they are utilizing them. And we are working with our coaches and providing direction on how to best utilize them. And we have a lot of the monitoring in place that is necessary to make sure that we're going to the extreme to keep our students safe and to have our parents feel comfortable with a safe return. Our parents have been very I guess, vocal as in a supportive way with the workouts. We have gotten some early feedback. They were kind of just a wait and see. There was a nervousness and a kind of a wait and see. But after a couple of days and then seeing the work that our coaches and our band directors are doing to maintain the safety, I think it's eased a lot of their fears, and the feedback now is very positive. And so that's just kind of some of the small test samples that we're utilizing to help us with decision making as we expand our school openings. Next slide, please. So there are many options that we have to consider as it relates to reopening, and so many factors that are at play. So what I've done, I've developed a task force, and that task force is studying various options. We began meeting back on June 4th. I want to give you a sense of what the task force or who the members are. I've got principals at each school. I've got directors, and I have members of our senior leadership team from across the district that bring a lot of expertise on a number of different issues, and also wanted to make sure that we had our principals' voice. They have direct access to teachers, and we'll be working with their teachers to get feedback from them so that we can make sure that we're making decisions that capture all forms of our district. Because there's such an unlimited amount of options, what I've charged our group is to focus our time, our energy, and our effort on things that we can accomplish within our district. There are things such, for example, as altering calendars. I think those are unique to each individual district. I think for our district, that is not an option for us to alter our calendar. And so that would be an example of us not utilizing our time, energy, and effort researching that. And we would focus our time, energy, and effort on areas that we know we can produce and turn around in 8 weeks and 2 days. Next slide, please. This slide gives you an example of the subcommittees and the work that each subcommittee will be doing as we begin to continue the process of developing our plan. You see, we have 6 subcommittees. Those subcommittees are responsible for various areas of the district. Each one of those subcommittee members have expanded their dialogue with various individuals in the district. So I feel like including teachers, so I feel like we have all of the areas covered in terms of feedback. Let's take a look at the instructional subcommittee. They'll be looking at what instructional models we will utilize. And there's going to be a virtual component to our program. So we're going to have to really put together a very comprehensive remote learning program similar to what we did over the last 9 weeks of the school year, but much, much more comprehensive because we may have to utilize that for a longer period of time. We also are planning and have to anticipate for a resurge and for the possibility of us having to shut down school maybe in November when it gets cold again, or if there's a spike in the flu season. All of those unknowns are things that we are planning for today, so that if we have to shut down, we can fall back to our virtual option for 100% of our instructional program. Well, that's an example of what this subcommittee will be studying and will be building as we go through the process. Our social distancing subcommittee is going to be looking at campus transitions. And by campus transitions, when students are in school, how are we going to social distance? What practices are we going to put in place within the limitations that we have in our buildings to try to make sure that we have the best social distancing possible? Well, that group is going to be studying that information, putting together different scenarios, pros and cons. We'll be evaluating that work along the way. We're looking at class size ratios. We're going to establish expectations for each campus. We're looking at our building capacity because that obviously drives what we're able to do. Obviously, you know, we don't have the capacity in our buildings to have 11, 15, or 20 or so students in a classroom. So that's going to be somewhat of a challenge for us, but there are other things that we can do to maintain social distancing. And so we're working, this group will be working on building plans centered around that. The student support subcommittee will be working on meals, what that's going to look like, what the cafeteria is going to look like, transportation, what transporting students on buses is going to look like. Of course, our nurses and our health program, our special ed population, our counseling support, all of those functions will have to be different from business as usual because of the obvious challenges that we have. So the student support subcommittee will be analyzing each of those, studying the pros and cons, and we'll be finalizing that as we go. The safety committee, which they'll be responsible for the intense cleaning program that I outlined a little while ago. We want to show our parents, our stakeholders, that our buildings are safe, that we're taking all the necessary precautions to keep them safe so that we can get back to teaching and learning. And so our safety subcommittee will be developing and making recommendations to me regarding our cleaning requirement schedule. It'll be more intense and more robust than what it was pre-COVID. Screening requirements. We've already developed screening documents similar to what you see when you go to the doctor's office. Have you been around anyone with COVID? Has anyone in your family had COVID? We're going to have those screening documents vetted through our nurses and our professionals in that area, and they will be utilized throughout the course of our district. Event managing, volleyball games, football games, band events, all those large events that take place at the beginning of the year, we have to have a plan in place to ensure social distancing and safety. So this subcommittee will be working on all of those features and aspects as we work our way toward opening up school in the fall. The technology group, the devices, of course, are one of the things that I will be making a recommendation on with our fund balance will be to try to upgrade our devices so that we can meet the needs of our students, because again, we have to plan for the possibility of a surge and an uptick. And if we have to go back to a 100% remote learning, I want to make sure that I have devices for our students so that they can engage. So the technology team is working on a plan of what that will look like, what the infrastructure to support a virtual program will look like, and what needs we're going to have for training and supporting our teachers to utilize that 100% of the time if that's what our scenario calls for. And then the personnel, there's going to be additional staff and substitute hirings because again, I do anticipate that either A, there will be staff members who may not feel comfortable in returning, or there may be staff members that may contract the disease during the course of the year, but we have to have a plan to be able to maintain instruction there. And so this subcommittee will be working on a plan, studying all the different aspects of what that's going to look like for staff and at-home options. So these are the things that we are studying, we're looking at, and we'll be analyzing the pros and cons associated with all of that, all of those items. Next slide, please. Again, I mentioned that this task force is very focused on action-oriented items. We're about action. I emphasize to them on a regular basis. We have 8 weeks and 2 days before the first day of school. So we have no time to waste. And so this is an outline of what we have been able to map out in the first few weeks of our planning. And it also gives you an indication of what targets we have in the next several weeks. And so when you look at week 1, we've already finalized that parent survey. That parent survey has been out. We're already collecting data on that, and we'll be disaggregating that data in the very near future. Of course, I'll be sharing that information with you in upcoming meetings and in my weekly communication to you, just so that you can have a sense of where our stakeholders are trending. But that is already out. We've already determined that portable buildings is not going to be an option for us. We know the challenges associated with that. So that's not going to be something that we're going to be looking at. So that's an example of us only focusing our time, energy, and effort on those items that are going to be doable for Duncanville ISD. In that first week, I finalized the subcommittees and charged them with the various things that we just outlined for you in terms of targeting their focus. As we proceeded to week 2, we finalized the staff survey and the principal survey. I want you to know those things aren't made in a vacuum. They're made collaboratively with me and our team. We work together. We look at all the questions. We analyze data. We collect surveys from multiple districts, and we Duncanvilleize our information so that we can get feedback from our parents. Those surveys will be deployed out this week. I anticipate in that week 3 that I'll be able to begin to analyze that data, so that as we reach the first week of July, I will have a lot of data to be able to gain and guide my decision making from various stakeholders within the district. We've already defined those expectations for how we're going to document reopening. And then I want to just highlight for you in week 3, of course, I'll be again analyzing the parent survey, determining any reconfigurations or staff moves that I need to make as a result of the capacity issues that we have. And then just finalizing our subcommittee determinations. Every time we meet, we go through a check process to make sure we are on point and that we're on track. Because again, we understand we have 8 weeks and 2 days before August 12th and opening up school. So the main driver that I am waiting on and I'm looking forward to share with you all, I mentioned a little bit ago, is what's going to happen with funding. And again, it is my hope that the state will give us guidance on that on this Thursday. And so we'll be looking forward to getting any information that will be key in helping us building our reopening plan. So, in summary, 1, we're going to get feedback from stakeholders. It's going to guide our decision making. 2, all of the professionals, the CDC, the local Dallas County Health Services Group, our intensive cleaning efforts will be in line and consistent with those best practices. We're going to be intensifying our sanitization and our disinfecting program. Masks, we certainly are going to be able to provide masks. We are going to be studying and looking at whether we are going to require students to wear a mask or strongly encourage the students. There are districts that fall on both sides of that equation. I do know of some districts that have already committed to requiring students to wear masks. Then there are other districts who have chosen to strongly recommend. We're studying that. I want to wait and get feedback from our community on the surveys before I make a determination there. And then just establishing a task force to study all the options. Those are the things that we're doing, and those are things that are associated with us, with our reopening plan. Just other things that we're still investigating: plexiglass. We're looking at having dividers for cafeteria workers, for other designated areas in our facilities. If the state does come back with restrictions on the number of students that we can have in the classroom, that's going to be a game changer for us. But so that's why we're investigating our capacity. I mentioned the device deployment and possibly bringing a recommendation to the board to utilize some of our fund balance to help with purchasing devices for our students. And then just funding for our at-home learning program. Those are going to be key drivers that we're studying and looking at as a part of our reopening program. So, board, those are that's the work that we're engaged in every day, all day, to get ready for the next 8 weeks and 2 days. So I'll be glad to answer any questions or comments that you may have at this time.
I have a question.
It is because of your extraordinary leadership that we can celebrate your team, because it starts at the top. The leadership starts with you, and you are doing an amazing job. Just everything you just gave us just blew my mind. So thank you, because your team is great because you're great, and we appreciate your leadership. So
Thank you for the feedback, Madam President. I appreciate that.
you're welcome. And at this time, if the board has a question, comment, or discussion, please state your name and whether it is a question, comment, or discussion.
I have a question.
Vera Cruz.
I'm Janet Vera Cruz, and I have a question for Dr. Smith. So did I hear this correctly? Parents will have an option to have their child to be taught virtually?
Yes, ma'am. What we're looking at right now is to have traditional face-to-face instruction with the option for parents who elect to have their kids remain at home. So we're going to have that virtual option as a part of our instructional program.
So let's just say John Doe wants to be taught at home. Will he just get a regular schedule and just go about his schedule throughout the day virtually? Or will there be a special team of virtual teachers just for the special select?
That's part of the work of the subcommittee, what we're looking at, trying to define what that's going to look like.
Right.
There could be scenarios where we have a teacher, let's just use this example. You have a teacher, you have 30 students in your classroom, 10 of those students want to have instruction at home.
Yes.
And so because the remaining students will be coming to school in person, that teacher, because we have already been working with our Google Classrooms and our remote learning over the last 9 weeks, most of our teachers have a familiarity with the remote learning. So that teacher would be utilizing the remote learning tools that we have available to teach the students who are not physically in their classroom.
Okay.
So that's what we're looking at. Now there's a lot of details that we have to flesh out there, but that's the concept of what we're looking at.
Yeah.
Any other questions, comments, discussion? Okay, great job. Great questions, great information.
Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Smith. We will now move to communications from citizens. And since we do not have any communications from citizens, being that there are no further items to discuss, this meeting is adjourned.
Surely we can find something else to discuss.
You want to go ahead and make it till 10 o'clock, Phil?
Yeah, then I really will be past my bedtime.
Thank you for your patience, board members.
Thank you.
See
That
you.
was good, Dr. Smith. Thank you.
I'll be following up with feedback from you all.
Thank you. It was good.
Yeah.
It was
Thank
good
you, Madam
information.
President.